Welcome back. Last episode, Gary purchased a house for him and Stormy to move into. The apartment was just getting overcrowded. They couldn't get the things done. So now we are at the point that Gary has a new house and the house needs to be renovated. I have been so engulfed in the gameplay of the game that I really haven't jumped into the build mode of the game as much as I should have. I am pre-build asset type girl. So that's what I'm going to show you today, because I cannot build from ground up yet. I'm gonna get it, and when I do, I'm gonna share it with you guys. For right now, I like to just take pre-built assets and switch them around. I guess you can say renovate? Yeah, renovate. I selected a pre-built family home and just threw it down here on this lot. There's so much I'm gonna change about this lot. But for the most part, the things that I start off with pre-builds is, once I do just throw them on the lot, I like to check and see what all is already in the pre-build and what do I like. Like, this needs a paint job. I don't know who designed this, but this is giving me asbestos vibes. And then on the first floor, there's a lot of rooms on the first floor. And for my gameplay, I kind of like an open floor space. I think you can just see so much more. You can watch the other family members and things like that. So yeah, I'm probably going to tear up these rooms downstairs and make it a more open floor space. But before I do that, I always start outside. It's just my thing. Curb appeal. Always start outside. And with that, we got to delete a few things, get it out of our way, because I'm going to move this whole home asset forward a little bit to give me a little bit more backyard space, because I have some ideas for a backyard. So we're going to use the move property tool once we have the asset down and everything cleared out in the front. You can just slide it around, grab the blue circle right there in the middle. Now you may see some pink shade appear just like so, and that means your asset is outside of the property lines. When I am moving these assets around, I do leave the grid up because it kind of helps a little bit to see the grid, but you'll see later on that I get rid of the grid when I start doing things inside the home. Now, the whole point of moving this asset was for us to get a little bit more room in the backyard, because I have some ideas for the backyard. We're going to build those assets out there. So, looks good. That's my step one. Step two. So the first thing I do is go to exterior in the build mode and select the fencing that I want. There's a variety of fencing. I leave the grids up still during this part because they help out. As you can see, like, I want some bushes in front of my fencing. That means I'm gonna have to push back this wall just a little bit in order to be able to place those bushes down later on. But putting up fencing is pretty simple. Click once, drag it out to the point that you want to drag it to, and then when you need to make adjustments, I think the adjustments for fencing is so easy. But you're just gonna click on that right there, and you're gonna, I call it like a little hammer. You're going to drag your hammer out to whatever direction you want it to go. If you want to cut the fence a little shorter, if you want to make it longer. But that's the process for that. And I go around the whole entire property to do that. Now, keep in mind, if you're using a pre-built asset, there is some in-game assets that you kind of have to build around that you're just not going to be able to move. Okay? So just keep that in mind when you're doing your fencing. It can get a little bit tedious, but y'all got it. Keep watching. Then I like to get my pavers down while I have the open space in the yard. I still use the grids for this part also, and that's because it just makes it easier to line things up. I don't know why I'm doing it this way right now. I think it was at this point that I discovered the beauty of the shift key, holding it down to duplicate items and just copy them. Once my pavers are down, I kind of start building my color palette for the home. I think this time I'm going with matching the exterior of the home, the color for the exterior of the home, to the actual fencing. So I go to the fencing and I literally pull the colors that are already established there. Remember that each furniture piece that you use has different coloring aspects to it. So to the far left, just click on those. And then when I see those colors, I just add it to a palette outline, and it gives me something to play around with, and I know my colors are going to match. Kind of saved me a lot of time to do it with this approach. And when it comes to certain furniture items, especially your external items, they have different types of textures and things like that. So you can play around with that and choose what's going to work best for the look that you're trying to get. I then started working on the foliage of the front yard. Remember when I was setting up the fence, I used the grids to align it so that I had enough room to put my hedges down. These are the hedges that I wanted. And again, I use that beautiful shift button to make this quick and painless. And this is what it looks like with the grids on. At this point, I thought working on the exterior of the house would be a good move. But as I started trying to change up windows, doors, and things like that, I kept running into the red error of you can't do this right here. And I couldn't figure it out. But then I did figure it out. It was because of the things on the inside of the building that were against the wall that was blocking me from placing things where I wanted it placed. So I switched up the plan and immediately went to the inside of removing items that I didn't want or would need. So I really wanted to do an open floor plan for the first floor. And that's solely due to how I like to play the game and being able to see all my characters kind of at once in one view without having to switch over directly to them. I immediately start removing wall, but most importantly, I was removing the things off the walls that were stopping me from being able to put up new windows and new doors the way that I wanted. Once I got everything removed from the interior that was stopping me from doing upgrades on the exterior walls, things went a lot smoother. I was able to place my windows and adjust them to how I wanted them to show in the house. Once I overcame the objective of the windows, I started on the exterior of the house. It was very important for me to match the exterior of the house to the actual fence. I did play around with a bunch of wallpaper, paints, tiles, woods, effects, and even some of my textures. Some of them look pretty hot, y'all. I ended up using that color palette that we began when we started putting the pavers down as the baseline for the house, and then simply use the paint room feature to just duplicate it around the entire house very quickly. With the exterior walls done, it made it so much easier for me now to place my open bay windows that I wanted and to get the color set for them. And again, I use that color palette that I established once we started building. So now the windows are in, things are looking good, and I moved back to the front because now that the windows are in, I can actually start putting in my foliage that's going to be close to the building, close to the house. I'm going for a really clean curb appeal appearance, so it's going to be a lot of greenery, some flowers, but very simple. Now in the backyard, we're going to do the exact same approach. We're going to clear out the backyard, get rid of everything that we don't need or don't have a use for. But first, we need to close up this fence. And then I realized that my pavers, I didn't finish up the pavers running to the backyard. So I hopped on that real quick and ran my pavers down this way. And of course, when I did this, I used the grid format again. After finishing up with the pavers, I went back to the backyard to finish up or to start the backyard setup. So I wanted an outdoor living space area for some entertainment and to set up some hobby space areas. We're gonna put in a basketball court for future kids. We're gonna put in a basketball court. Actually, I like the ball, so the basketball court's going in. A relaxation area, some more sports activities, some music, and there's definitely gonna be a garden/flower bed. I got started on the deck first. It was quite simple to do. I just put a walnut deck down. I used my color palette to adjust some things. I told y'all that basketball court was going in. And again, I used the deck too to create the basketball court. I think I'll do some coloring later on in the video. And then I used these flower beds, or I guess you can say raised flower boxes, to create transitions in the yard. So I placed a few of these around, and y'all know how much I love my shrubs. So the shrubs got placed around also to just create some transition points and to create some color and put some livelihood in the backyard. The relaxation corner in the backyard was by far the funnest thing to build because I was able to put a series of plants, small items together to create that scene. Here's the final product of the backyard. I did leave a lot of open space to add some things later on. When I decide I want to build some more or adjust my characters, I have the room to do it. Overall, I believe any great test of your build is to watch your characters play through the things that you've set up, like this basketball court, grilling, them being able to sing out on the patio. For me, this is the point where ZOI makes world creation a reality because you created it and now you're seeing it play out. Starting on the first floor, the first thing that I did was completely empty out the room. I told you I was going for a open floor plan, so opening up the floor, getting rid of most of the walls and getting rid of most of the furniture. But I started off with the kitchen first. And when I started with the kitchen, I realized that this kitchen / the bedroom area and the living room all had the same type of flooring. So I went with wood flooring, some wide panel wood flooring, very basic. And as you already saw, The color tone for the house is going to be very earth tone and modern. So the wood flooring should go well with this. Next, I went through an emotional roller coaster with trying to decide which wall color or wall paint I should go with. I was just going to go really simple, but y'all see, I had some moments. I went through some shades, I went through some colors, but I went back to the very neutral color of a very light gray. I just absolutely love building kitchens. They're just aesthetically pleasing, visually pleasing. But let's get to it. So with this kitchen, my idea was to move the kitchen a little bit further to the right because I had an idea for the front area space. So I started pushing the cabinets more off to the right to create a open kitchen format. I'm telling you, you guys are gonna love this open floor format as soon as we finish this up. So I added a couple of cabinets, moved some core appliances around, but I wanted to ensure I had enough counter space to add the additional items like the coffee grinder, the coffee maker, things that go towards your character's ZOI card. I wrapped the kitchen build up with a few cabinets and some accessories and then moved straight to the dining room. The dining room was pretty simple. Dining room table, a few chairs. I did put a fireplace in there and a few accessories. Very quick, simple build. Placed all that. Don't worry, we'll do coloring a little bit later. But then I realized I had a tree sitting inside my house, so we just gave her a little shifty to the right. With the dining room done, I moved to the front foyer, and the idea I had here was to make this a music room, an art room. I ended up adding a wall here because I wanted a transition wall to divide coming through the front door from this room because I thought that was a little bit too open. So I ended up adding a wall here. I wanted the living room to give a warm, cozy, and inviting vibe, so I went with a bunch of earth tones, modern equipment, and did a transition of a living room / home office mix. The final touches for this floor involve applying color, texture, tone, and balancing out the whole house, pretty much the color scheme. So I like to go through and do room by room and get those done. Creating the first floor bathroom proved to be a fun little project in itself. I went with some very basic colors, so some grays. I think that's a brown, maybe. I don't know. And marble, white. And of course, you guys know I love my plants. For applying the final touches to the bathroom, I had to fix the lights. So I had to change the map to darkness to adjust the lights in the house. From moving things around and shifting stuff, my lights were everywhere, y'all. So the best way I found to do lights is to do it in this method right here, is to take the lighting all the way down and just shift your lights around and move them around to where you want them to spotlight and highlight on. I think the overhead view is the best way to get it done. This setup goes perfectly with the style that I like to see my gameplay in. Very open format, able to do multiple things in one shot. You can see 2 to 3 characters of your family members doing things all at once. At this point, I was very content with the build progress. I was a little bit skeptical considering that this was my first renovation of a pre-built asset completely, but it's going pretty smoothly. And you guys can see right here why I absolutely needed a back porch that this guy could play his guitar on. I quickly put my ZOIs to bed and got started on the last and final floor, which is the second floor. The second floor is going to be done much like the first floor. I am going to cut out a lot of these walls, make a bit of open space. The bedrooms, I only want 2 kid rooms up here. I'm going to make one a girl, one a boy room, and then the master bedroom, I'm going to make it into a full master bedroom with a master bath and a shared bathroom up here for the kids' room. So let's get to it. I decided to take this open corner over here where there is a bed. I think it was a bedroom at some point. But I'm going to make it into a full bedroom and match it with the cross bedroom, which is going to be the little girl's room. Once I had the room set up the way that I wanted them in reference to the walls, I immediately went to getting the floor settled in. And I used the same exact approach on each floor, on each level of the building. I go floors, walls, appliances, and then colors and textures and wrap it up by putting some additional accessories in there. The master bathroom was pretty simple to do because I already had some experience from the first floor bathroom. So I already had an idea of what I was going to do here in the master bedroom's bath. For the master bedroom, I went with another open floor concept. So what I wanted to build here was to put another office area, a little small office area, a entertainment area within the bedroom space, and then have a separate area that's just a bedroom type nook area. Earlier, I placed my Zoys in bed while I was doing the first floor upgrades. Now it's time for me to upgrade this master bedroom. So we're just gonna do it while they're napping or sleeping. I think it's daytime, so this is super nap time for them. This is where I decided to experiment with some of my textures. I had this Louis Vuitton print, and I just wanted to see what I could do in a bedroom or in a space like this with some textures. This is my first go at it. And I kind of went a little bit overboard. I had some fun with it, and I had some future ideas that blossomed from this experience too. For the shared bathroom, I was going for a very basic approach and the ability to put some appliances in this bathroom that my Zoys are going to need for their skill development and things of that sort, day-to-day activities. This bathroom creation went very smoothly because I already had some experience from building the first floor bathroom, and I knew where items were, what I was kind of looking for. I think I did this in probably 10-15 minutes. For the child's room or the boys' room, I went another basic setup. It was quite fun to build in this room considering it wasn't completely squared. Hopefully my Zoe can get in that bed in the corner. We're gonna find out. I added some accessories, things to help them get through school, some activities. And then I did the same thing with the girls' room and experienced with some more textures and shades of pink and bright colors. I really like this little small room. I think I have a teenage room idea coming out of this too.